In a moment, we're going to meet the Dutch artist Lorena Kloosterboer. If you enjoy the video, please subscribe and ring the bell, give it a like, and share the link with your friends. And now, today's show. Hi, my name is Allan Gorman. About 10 years ago, I decided to pack it in and become a full-time working artist. Now, not only do I get to do what I love every day, but I've also had the opportunity to show a lot and meet some extraordinary and talented people in my travels. And today I'd like to introduce you to one of them. Andy Warhol once said, in the future, everyone's going to have their 15 minutes of fame. And this show is about giving my friends their 15 minutes. If you'd like to see some of my work, please visit www.allangorman.com. But today's not about me. It's about supporting one of the people I respect and entertaining you. So please join me now for today's episode of Allan Gorman's 15 Minutes of Fame Art TV show.
My 15 minutes of fame, I want it. My 15 minutes of fame, I want it. My 15 minutes of fame.
Okay, so today on 15 Minutes of Fame, I am pleased to introduce an old friend who I met on Facebook. And then we hooked up in New York when she came to New York a number of years ago. She's one of the most important artists that I ever met in my life. A mentor, smart as a whip, immensely talented. That said, Lorena Kloosterboer. Hi, Lorena.
Hi, Allan. Thank you so much for my 15 minutes of fame and for your kind words. And well, we've been friends for a long time, so.
And what I said, I meant. You've always been a straight shooter. You suffer no fools. All I would want in a friend to kind of, support me when I'm going in the right direction and kick me in the butt when I'm not. So let's get into it. When you grew up in the Netherlands, what sparked an interest in art? When did you first kind of self-identify as an artist?
Well, that's very hard to pinpoint. I think, I know I always drew, and if I didn't have paper, I would do it on my hands and on my arms. There are pictures of me as a child that, I would just draw on my, on my left hand. And all my school books were full of, and I just loved drawing, but all children love drawing, but maybe I loved it more. I don't know.
And what did you draw? Do you remember?
Usually people, lips, eyes, dogs, all kinds of animals. I would draw situations that, like little cartoons with bubbles coming out of the head, out of the mouth as to tell a story.
Your work, even your early work, had a fascination with small animals.
Yes.
Did you have pets? Did you?
Yes. I had all sorts of pets, and most importantly, I had a little dog that I got when I was 9, and used to have birds, and I have a connection with them. I really feel that animals provide the most unselfish, most pure kind of love once they trust you.
Well, especially dogs.
No, cats as well.
Oh, cats want to kill you. Come on.
A cat came to live with me. She adopted me, and she was the love of my life. I learned a lot of things from that cat. I have no idea how old she became. She stayed with us for 13 years, traveled with us when we moved abroad, and came back. And yeah, she was lovely.
And then in your researching your materials, I saw you mentioned a few times that you wanted to be a fashion designer.
Yeah, in high school, I decided I wanted to be a fashion designer, and I wanted to make fashion for not the hoity-toity stuff, but comfortable stuff that everybody could wear.
Were you a clothes hound? Did you like to dress up and stuff?
Yeah.
You and your girlfriend and go out shopping a lot?
Shopping a lot. I don't know. I guess so. I don't know. I'm the type of person who will buy stuff that's different from other people, and where even in school in those days, I used to wear, you know, weird stuff.
So did you bring stuff back from Argentina and wear it in Holland? And everybody said, "Ooh, where'd you get that?"
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
My grandmother bought me these leather pants one time, suede, and matching boots with very high heels. And I was allowed to wear high heels from the age of 16. So I tottered around in high heels, and I just loved it. Yeah.
Okay, so then you studied fine art, and how'd that come about?
Well, I had a boyfriend at the time who was an architect, and he took me to a university to do a test, like an aptitude test, and it turned out that I should go into the arts. So I started applying for art schools there, but they wouldn't take me because I had a Dutch high school diploma. And in those days, Argentina had a military regime regime who did not really acknowledge anything from outside of their country.
Mhm.
So they wanted me to do the last year of high school again, Argentine high school, to get an Argentine high school diploma. And I refused that. I had
I want to move
trouble.
on. I don't want to.
Yeah. And, I wasn't interested in doing geography and Argentine history and stuff. I just wasn't. So anyway, this boyfriend, he had a connection to a teacher in an art school. And in exchange for redoing her kitchen, she went to talk and got me into the school. And I could attend, and I would get my grade card and everything, but I wouldn't get a diploma. But I didn't need a diploma. You're an artist or you're not.
Right.
Nobody ever asked me for a diploma. So I got in through back channels and that way.
What did you start out doing when you said, "I'm an artist"? What was your original endeavors, and how did it evolve over the years?
Well, I started in art school. I started doing the regular stuff that they
Well,
teach.
you have to do, right?
Yeah, and I didn't, and I think it was in the first year that I won a really big prize, a national prize, and I sold my first piece. And from that moment on, I thought, oh wait, this could actually be a career. And from there on, I started experimenting with different styles and nudes and flowers and impressionism and all that sort of stuff. And I landed, and I gravitated towards realism, and that had always been something that caught my attention anyway. Even as a child, going to museums and exhibitions, that was the thing that I liked best. And I had a whole period of years, perhaps maybe decade and a half, that I painted portraits mainly and nudes, together with animals and fauna and flora, with a very strong influence from the pre-Raphaelites and Art Nouveau and that period, very flowing lines, and that came to an end in 2003, I think, or four, that I moved back to the United States and found out that people were very scared of nipples, and I didn't want to compromise. I didn't want to dress my models, so I thought, well, I'll do still lifes.
Well, you certainly, I see one in the background, you certainly accomplished at still lifes. And what I love is that your still lifes are really not traditional. Certainly you've got your own take on still life. I mean, you keep pushing yourself to do something more complicated each time.
You know, when you paint and you push yourself, there is a whole time that you stand still and you keep at the same level, and then suddenly there is one piece that makes you jump, and that when you finish it, you go like, oh wow, this is good. So I have several of those, but I can count them on one hand, and you know, they have been like milestones in skill, not only in painting skill, but in compositional skill.
So, tell us about your process of what you go through and the steps that it takes to create the final product.
Well, the process that I have painting in acrylics is stemmed out of the period that I changed medium. I come from oils and I went into acrylics, which is a whole different ballgame, and it was a very steep learning curve. So I try to make them look as if they're oils, and people cannot tell when you look at my painting that it's acrylic. The thing that I usually start with is either a symbolic idea that I have that I want to express, or an object that I really, really love. And most of the objects that I paint are from my personal collection. And I get them from secondhand stores and to, you know, eBay, to expensive stuff. And sometimes I borrow objects from others. And then I start making a composition. That'll take a while. And to match up an animal, in the case of birds or other creatures, the light has to come from the same place and it needs to be in the same perspective. So I do a lot of photo shoots. The pictures of the animals and the birds are either bought or, but now I have a big group of wildlife photographers that love my work and give me, just allow me the use of their animals. So that's wonderful. And once I have the photo shoot in my computer and I put in the bird or the animal, and I fall in love, because it needs to be like, you know, I fall in love, because otherwise I don't see a point of painting it. Then I could start, you know, figuring out the painting itself. So once the drawing is on the surface, I just start layering many layers of transparent and translucent colors, and I don't pre-mix them. I usually use colors that are straight out of the tube or out of the tub. And
you don't mix your colors on the palette?
No.
The straight colors from the
straight colors. I can. Oh no, it's somewhere else.
That's
I
right.
thought I could show you something. Anyway, yeah, I put a little drop. I like fluid acrylic, so I put a little drop, and I will use that up, and then I'll put a next drop, because it dries so fast that, you know, you can't put a whole lot of paint on the palette.
Yeah, well, you're painting very thin and
Yeah, very thin.
Yeah.
And I learned how to control value by and color by optical mixing. So every layer brings something new to my painting. If it needs to be darker, I'll glaze with a darker color, or if it needs to be lighter, I'll glaze lighter. If the color needs to go warmer or cooler, I'll adjust that with subsequent layers. And what I do in between layers often is give it I seal the layers that are particularly well done with gloss medium, which is an acrylic polymer that is completely transparent. And I'll seal them in because the next layer that I put in might not be good. And then I can wipe it with a sponge and start again. But then the bottom layer is completely protected. And I have the idea, I got the idea from a book that I read about Maxfield Parrish. He painted in oils, but he used to put in layers of varnish in between layers of paint.
Right.
And they say that the light goes through it, and there is some sort of like the colors get reflected up again. So, and I have the feeling that that's true, that those layers of translucent acrylic in between colors do help create a certain, I don't know, depth or richness, something wonderful.
I just learned something, thank you. So,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, it's interesting that you make small paintings. You know, it's rather than I do a mixture, because I suppose I'm jealous. I really want to be a showman, and you know, I look at sculptors and architects and people who change the planet, and I'm amazed. It's just like a building that is a piece of art and is permanent. You know, yeah. They made their mark, and I suppose I want to make my mark too. So sometimes I make larger paintings, and recently I've been making smaller ones, which is interesting because in a way they're harder because you know you're up close and personal, and but your small paintings are so highly detailed and just you know, incredibly impeccable. So, and you also have done, I don't know how you say it, trompe l'oeil. You've done some of that.
Yeah, it was part of the process of finding my way into still lives, really. But there is a limitation to that, in the sense that a real good trompe l'oeil needs to be life-sized and has all sorts of rules that as soon as there is a rule, I'll want to break it.
My own feeling is you want to define yourself as you, and if you paint within a category and there are masters in that category, then let them have at it.
Well, I think it takes a long time before you find your niche, and it's a process, and I think it is akin to finding out who you are, but also you know, you can't fake a signature. You know, you can't fake the thing that's happening, the whole process, and it takes years. And,
well, they say, you know, that every piece of art, all of your art is a self-portrait.
Yes.
So you can't hide, even if you're phony. That's going to show through too. I mean, you know, so.
I know you came to painting relatively late after a career in advertising, and I am amazed at how fast your cycles have been, and how fast you found your niche and your voice. And I think ever since that painting Rocket, remember?
Well, that was actually that was one before that.
What was it?
Steampunk.
Ah, yes.
Which was rattling around for a couple of years it was intimidating, but I knew I had to do it. And I didn't want to paint from someone else's reference. So I had to, talk my wife into taking a trip to Buffalo, New York, which is like the pits, and by promising her we'll stay at a B&B and a Finger Lakes. So I went up, and they had one day of photography a year to shoot this giant. There are 5 of these giant steam engines in a facility up in Buffalo. So I had to make it, and then it was certainly a process in painting that painting, because it was a process of discovery. And once I painted it, or once I made it to my satisfaction and said, okay, that's what it's going to be. I kind of flipped a switch, and never again am I going to paint something that I think they'll like. I'm just going to paint what I like, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't like it, that's fine. They're not going to worry about it. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you just need to, I mean, we spend so much time doing stuff other people want, that in the studio, you really definitely need to do something that you want. If you want to get rich, you shouldn't become an artist. I mean,
Well,
too
you
unstable.
should become a trader, businessman. Yeah. So, but this is not about me. So let's switch back to you. You're also a pretty accomplished author. You wrote The Indispensable Guide to Acrylic Painting, which is you were working on when I first met you.
No, we met before that.
We met a little before that, but it
Yeah.
came pretty quick. And then I was so proud of you to know that what an undertaking. It was like a bear.
That was a
Yeah.
big chunk out of my life, and I
big.
poured my soul into that book. Yeah.
Well, that's anything and everything you ever wanted to know. And wait, what did I leave out?
Yeah.
But since then, you've taken your pen and put it to a different kind of use, which is similar to what we're doing today, which is kind of trying to. You have a curious mind, and I've done a lot of interviews. I asked about your process before because I especially loved a blog post that you posted that went through. I learned so much. And your interview styles become incredible. So can you talk about that a little bit, and talk about some of the people who you've written about who you really enjoyed?
Yeah. I've always written a lot. In the years that we didn't have internet and I had family abroad or left the country and had friends abroad, I have always been an avid letter writer.
Did you have a pen pal when you were a kid?
What?
Did you have a pen pal?
No, I had my grandparents that I wrote every week.
Mm-hmm.
And made drawings for, and when I left the country, when I was a teenager, I wrote, to all my friends and waited for weeks, sometimes months, to get an answer of, 1 page, and I would have 8 pages back within a day. And so I've always loved writing, and I like reading as well, and I like the English language a lot. I love how many synonyms it has and how good one can express things on paper. And I write very much like I paint. I plan it, I push and pull, I make sure that sentences are easily read and stop where they should stop, and tell a story. Now, there are not many people that read, but I thought, well,
Not anymore.
So I got the opportunity to write for an independent art magazine, and I had the freedom to pretty much, you know, most of the time choose who I wrote about. And that evolved into a real big project in the sense that I did that for 2 full years, and I published every month I published an interview, and where most writers will send you a list of questions and just paste those, you know, in an interview. I would video call them and find out about, you know, more personal stuff and meanings and, you know, behind the work and what the experiences are, and make a story out of that. And lately I have been writing more independently, so I publish it on Medium. I get asked by mostly online magazines, but also paper magazines, to do articles. Sometimes I do step-by-steps for them, or, you know, I take a topic and I dive into it. But most of the time I prefer to do it on my own, just like my paintings. I prefer to select those that I like. And nowadays I write catalog introductions. I've done several of those, including for your exhibition, remember?
Yeah.
And yeah, I have to like what I'm writing about. I found it incredibly hard to write about art that I don't particularly appreciate or respect. So it needs to be about something that I really like. Lately, I have been painting more. I started writing a long essay when the pandemic started, and I stayed in, but it turned so negative that I never published it. I thought this is the last thing people need.
How has the pandemic affected your work ethic, or has it?
Yes, it has affected me. In the beginning, I was, I had this low-level depression, imagining how difficult it was for people who were in a bad situation. I happen to be in a good situation, so I worry about others. But I started. I found that I needed to paint, and I've never been this productive ever, because I wasn't able to travel, and I travel quite a lot every year. Little trips for art, meeting art friends, going to openings, or, you know, visiting artists. And that was all canceled this year, so I painted a lot.
Yeah, we were supposed to go on a European trip.
Yeah.
But we had to cancel, and you know, disappointing.
Yeah, no summer vacation. I've had a staycation, and, you know, it is what it is. But I've got running water, and I've got food, and yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
I found that it's increased my concentration.
Mm-hmm.
No more coffee. No more going to the deli to get some coffee, or no stopping on the way. No lunches. Just go to studio and work. I'm a little concerned. I'm working on a new how to do it kind of piece, a large painting, that I'll share with you later. But since the beginning of the year, paintings have really gotten intimate, and an exploration of lonely and isolated places, which was not premeditated. It was just happened, and somehow it seems to capture the poignancy and I don't want to say sadness, but what I want to say, kind of.
Just a low level, like a little dark cloud over your head every the moment that you wake up.
I don't think that. It's kind of mystery and curiosity about this solo existence that we're in. It's not sad. It's I'm a little paranoid. I mean, I don't want to go near anybody. So I should have worn my mask for. We should have worn masks. We don't want to transfer. But yeah, it was interesting. Just an interesting, uh, interesting the way they're coming out and what they are about. So you've also dabbled in sculpture a little bit. So little bit. So and you did precious sculptures with little animals on them, and that was in your hometown.
Yes, yes. There are several public statues. After I returned back to the Netherlands, I think it was in the late 80s. I started working as an artist professionally, but I had to start from scratch because, yeah, people didn't know me. There was no internet, so.
So how did the public sculptures come about? How that?
Well, that was a link that I got I bought a little house, and my neighbors had this. There was this like a group or society that they had, and it was going to be I think 25 years anniversary. And they said, "Do you know how to sculpt?" And I had learned how to sculpt in art school. So I said, "Yeah." And they went like, could you make us something? I go like, yeah. So I worked on my first sculpture for 11 months, and it was poured into bronze. And it was a really big deal. I mean, this was my first piece of public art, and I was, I think I was 29. So it was young to be so celebrated. And in between, because I knew the unveiling would be really, really big with, music and the mayor and the press and, all that. I made sure that I worked my ass off to have enough work to do solo exhibition. And since no gallery wanted me, I rented the cultural center in the town for I think it was a month, and I planned the unveiling and then the solo exhibition opening later that same month. And it was.
What town is this?
Wassenaar. It's in the Netherlands. It's right outside of The Hague. It's The Hague is where the government is. I grew up, I lived there from, in Wassenaar, I lived from about the age of 9. Before that, I was in the north of Holland, in a town called Bergen, which is an artist's village, basically.
Oh.
And then, well, that sculpture brought me more sculpture work years later. While I continued doing my portraits, and I also started my own graphic design company. I was the only employee, but that tied me over in between, doing commissions, and I was able to survive relatively well. I mean, I'm not saying it was easy, but every time I would hit a real long dry spell, and I would think, oh, I have to get like a normal job, like somewhere out, in an office or something.
I still think that. So.
Come on. I know you're fine.
I tell people I've got a new job. It cost me a fortune.
I was always able to make ends meet in the end, and I suppose I've always been incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about that right now, but if I would need to, I know I can spring back and rely on myself.
So, what's next for you?
Making paintings and yeah.
You got a bunch planned, or you got?
What?
I read that you have a process. In your process, it's like, okay, when I get to a certain point, then I'll start
Yes.
thinking about the next one. But
Yeah.
I'm doing this now. But what I do is I kind of like to have them lined up on the runway. You know, I'm best when I'm playing traffic controller and sometimes working on 4 or 5 pieces at the same time in different stages. So I like that because I know I have a production line. But you know, there's no deadline for us. I mean, oh well, actually, in one of the things I read about you, you talked about creative block and uh, and how agonizing that was.
Ugh.
So could you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, but I don't have any solutions. I mean, I got into creative block, I think due to several traumatic experiences and changes in my life, choices I had to make that were forced down my throat. And suddenly I was in my studio and nothing. And I would think to myself, well, it'll be tomorrow, you know, or the day after. And that went on for 2 years. And
What did you do?
the problem is that it eats at you. It ate at me because I define myself by what my art. That's me. My art is me, and that's my reason for being.
If I'm not
And
making,
if I
I'm
don't,
not making art, then who am I, right?
I'm nothing. I'm
Yeah,
nothing.
right. Yeah.
So I tried. You know, I bought books, self-help books, and I took workshops that were awful. And I tried to change styles. I tried to change topics. And then finally, I changed to acrylics. So I got another medium that I had never used before, and basically that pulled me out of that look. But I am not sure if it was the medium or whether it was just time and I had processed certain things. But it was a very painful period, very, very painful. Yeah, yeah. And I don't know. You know, it sounds stupid because before that I thought, you know, painter's block is, you know, is probably doesn't exist, or is, you know, overblown, or somebody who's hysterical or whatever, but it isn't. It does exist. And I hope it never happens again.
All right. So give us a plug. Where can somebody see your work?
Oh, you know, my work is the best place to see is on my website. I appear in several exhibitions a year here and there when I get invited to a group show or something. But those are usually, I usually post those on social media. Right now, I have work in Taiwan, in Art Revolution, in Taipei, that opened on August 13, I think. And yeah, I have work in the UK in a gallery, and you know, several galleries in the United States. So yeah, there is a way to see it. And if you're in the neighborhood, people can contact me and come visit me.
Okay. And what's your social media links?
Just my name. So everything is Lorena Kloosterboer. There's just one of those in the world. There's no other one with the same name. So you can't go wrong as long as you get one of the names right, you're fine.
Okay.
Same with my book. If you go to a bookstore or an online place, just type in my name and it just rolls out.
Think you'll do another book?
not a how-to book. I've been thinking about, what would be next. And I had this idea of doing separate topics, like, painting sky or painting this or painting that. And then, it's not me. I'm not a teacher. I'm
No,
more of a,
I don't even know how you do a how-to. I mean, why would you want to do a how-to how I do it? I mean, do it your way. My way is not the right way. I don't know.
no, but for example, people want to know how to,
I know they do, but
yeah, but there are people who do the how-tos. They do them at home. I just had a how-to published earlier this year in Arts and Illustrators magazine in the UK. And I get a lot of feedback. A lot of people send me the final image of the they actually copy it step by step. So there are people who actually enjoy that.
yeah, there are people who make a living at it too. So, yeah, good living. Going back to your friends and your writing about profiles, who are some of your favorites? Who are the standouts?
I wouldn't be able to say I have a favorite. I recently this year I did a Dutch artist, an essay for a Dutch artist who's also a friend of mine. And I did an extensive essay that hasn't been published yet about an Australian artist that I admire a lot. And
Name names.
oh, okay. Well, the Dutch artist is Yvonne Melgers. The series that I most enjoy is her Bedrooms with a View, and I just think it's brilliant. And the way she paints, she has she has real brush strokes to show, and she has a limited palette, which I find incredibly interesting. So it was that was lovely to write about her.
Well, we said this before, but I love when you see the artist's hand. Something I don't particularly enjoy about a lot of photorealism is it becomes so technical.
I mean, what makes you fall in love with one painting and the other painting leaves you cold? And I think it's so personal, and you bring so much luggage to it, and so much.
Everybody brings their own. We said that before. That somebody likes something you do, not a reflection on you or the painting, it's a reflection on them. It's just
yes, and so is criticism.
Oh God, I read an essay that you wrote about critique.
Yeah,
which
critique,
was
critique versus criticism.
Which is brilliant. I just posted a painting, and somebody kind of unsolicited talked about how the shadow was in the wrong place, and it's like, who asked?
Yeah, but you learn how to deal with it. You get that all the time. Everybody
kind of know. Yeah, again, it's about them. It's not about you.
No, but in my case, I see a lot of really good art, but I see a lot of bad art as well. And if I don't have anything nice to say, I won't say.
We talked about that.
Yes.
Yes, most things in life are mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
In anything, most things in life are mediocre. And then there's some things that are good, and some things that are bad, and some things that are extraordinarily wonderful, and some things that are extraordinarily terrible. But most things fall in the mediocre middle.
Well, I also think every painting is a step in a path on a path.
Cool.
And if something's wrong with it, the thing that I most dislike, because in that essay that I wrote about critique versus criticism, the warning is also about believing all the positive reactions that you get. And some people just bathe in it and stay stuck in one place. So you have to have your internal compass on where do you want to go. Not every piece is going to be brilliant. Some pieces you shouldn't even show. They just need to be rolled over. But don't don't mind the criticism is what, what stays in the back of your head. But basically, it's also dangerous to relax and think, oh, I'm pretty brilliant.
Well, that's what I said in our introduction. One of the things I valued about you, or do value about you, is that you don't suffer fools. You kind of call it like it is, So.
I do, and I think, that Billy Joel song, "Honesty." It's one of those things that I think I don't do it with everybody, but I think friendship, and when I have a friend, I will tell them the truth, and sometimes it's not pretty, but yeah, I think
that's what a friend is.
Yeah, I think a friendship deserves honesty.
Yeah, you don't want to have to sugarcoat it.
So if I say something that's I think it's good, it will be. You can depend on it. I won't be shitting you.
Right. And you don't want to walk on eggshells with somebody and hurt your feelings. So otherwise that's not a friendship.
No, exactly. And I expect the same back. I mean,
okay.
That's what it is.
Okay. Well, I thank you for being on 15 Minutes of Fame, and I wish you nothing but the best, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Allan. I really appreciate you asking me for this interview, and I'm very curious to see the 15 Minutes of Fame, and well, you're my friend, so make it good. I love you.
I'll do my best. I love you too. Thanks for watching today. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please leave your comments and subscribe, and also sign up for my newsletter at www.allangormanart.com. This way you'll never miss another episode of Allan Gorman's 15 Minutes of Fame Art TV show.